Argentina, who came in as the tournament favorite. Obviously, they have won the last Copa. They have won the last World Cup. Now they're going for 3 in a row. They got all 9 points in the group stage. They went a perfect 3-0. They get Ecuador tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Argentina minus 225, Ecuador plus 750, and the draw is plus 310. Any angles you're looking for in this Argentina-Ecuador game?
Yeah, I'm looking for Argentina to cover, but I will say that we are still kind of hanging out, waiting to see what is going to come up for Leo Messi because he got that little bit of a thigh bruise the other day. He has been back in training, so he is working out again. But at the same time, you know how when you got a short break between games, if you've built some sort of chemistry and pattern, you've built some sort of rhythm, especially when you play football the way Argentina does, which is all about timing and rhythm. It's like a dance when they play the game. If Messi is unable to play, that might throw that chemistry off, throw that rhythm off a little bit. That being said, I think this tournament means a lot to Messi, just like the World Cup did. Unless he just absolutely can't, he's 100% going to go. And on top of that, like I know it's a minus 210 money line. I don't know that I love it enough to play it on the goal line. I will probably take the over 2.5 goals, though. I think Ecuador has got enough that they can challenge, and I just need them to find one somewhere. Argentina's scoring 2. The question is Ecuador, will they add the third? And I think they built up enough momentum that they will. But honestly, man, like this game, I think is it's not a game I particularly love the line with Argentina minus 210. It might just be sit back and watch Leo Messi do Leo Messi things.
Do you think this is going to be his last international tournament, Rob, or do you think we see him at the World Cup in 2026? Now that he is playing in the States, I think a lot of people just assumed he won the World Cup. That'd be his swan song. I mean, there's no topping that. You ride off into the sunset. But if Argentina goes back-to-back at the Copas, they won the World Cup, do you think it's dependent on how they do in this tournament? If they win the Copas, do you think Leo's saying to himself, all right, I mean, we still got a really good team. Let's try and run this thing back too at the World Cup, or do you think this is going to be it for him?
I'm going to be honest, man. I don't know. I wonder if the MLS is going to keep him in World Cup shape, right? Like, how long have we said that's been the problem for American soccer teams is that MLS does not keep Americans in World Cup shape, in Copa America shape, and that prevents you from coming up. Well, that's where Leo Messi is. And granted, he enters MLS as one of the best soccer players on planet Earth, even if he is 37, even if he is clearly past the pinnacle of his career, he is still exceptional. Will he be 2 years from now, though? Will he be when he's threatening 40 and he's been playing in the MLS for 2 years? He's not been playing in the bigger, more renowned leagues internationally. I hate doing this, PJ Glasser. I like to be able to give you thoughts and answers. The answer for me right now is I don't know. I really don't know because there's a lot of variables and factors here. The injuries have started to become more frequent for Leo Messi. As we're seeing right now in Copa, he's missed a ton of MLS over the last year and a half with different varying injuries. So I think if he's healthy and he feels like he's in a good spot, he might run it back one more time just as a send off. But at the same time, man, like what better way to go out than lifting that World Cup trophy for the last time, even if he wins Copa, which great. Like, okay, that's an excellent tournament to win. Even if he wins it, our last memory of Leo Messi is still always going to be him winning the World Cup, right? Like that makes me think get out, but I don't know what the sentimentality versus the practicality of playing one more is for Leo Messi.
Yeah, and look, I think it's a great answer, and I think it's a great point. And honestly, Rob, I don't think Messi even knows what he's going to do. Because like you said, he's 37. He's taking it year by year. I think he's going to see where his body's at, and yeah, I mean, only time will tell. I do think it helps though the fact that he is playing in the States for him to play the World Cup in here. Now you mentioned the shape, and that could be a concern. But now that he has familiarity with the U.S. and has now played at a bunch of these stadiums, I think that and gone to these cities, I think maybe that could help him potentially play with Argentina. Certainly would like to see him play with Argentina in 2026. As for me in this game, One thing that jumped out would be for the game to be tied at halftime. Think it could be 0-0. I know you like both teams to score. I do think Argentina is going to score in the second half. Maybe Ecuador can get you a goal as well. But look, we know Ecuador's game plan, and they're going to come in here and they're going to park the bus, and they want this thing to go to extra time, and they want this thing to go to penalties. Argentina's got way more world-class talent than they do. The great equalizer would just bring these things to PKs where anything could happen. And Rob, I'm looking at the Euros, and I'm looking at all these big favorites, and I'm looking at what England did against Slovakia and what Portugal did against Slovenia and how these heavy underdogs were able to hang around. Now, Argentina's looked better than those two teams did, but I do think Ecuador can keep this thing close for the first 45. So I'll take the tie at the intermission at plus 110. Rob, you were talking about Canada yesterday and the coach for the Canadians. What a great job he has done with them. He's got them into the quarters. They are plus 180 to win their game in regulation. Venezuela is plus 160. The draw in 90 minutes is plus 210. Venezuela is favored to qualify at minus 125. Canada is minus 110. So this should be a really close game. Rob, your thoughts on Canada, Venezuela?
Venezuela's winning this game. Listen, I got a lot of respect for what Jesse March and Canada have done getting out of that group. We undershot our expectations. I think they overshot their goals. I got a ton of respect for what Canada has done, but Venezuela's got 6 goals in 3 matches. They are the second best offense, statistically speaking, in Copa America. On the other side, Canada has conceded a pair of goals in their last 3. Canada is 11th, I think, out of every team in Copa with 1 goal. They got through the group, and again, good on playing a good defensive back game can win you football matches. There's no doubt, but they scored a goal through 3 games, and now it is elimination. Now teams are throwing everything they got at you. Venezuela is winning this game, pardon me, and on top of that, I got to tell you, this might be a game I consider taking the over 2.5 on, which is at plus 130 right now. And honestly, I think Venezuela's scoring all 3 because at some point when Venezuela goes up 1 early, and I think they will, probably like a 15, 20-minute goal into the game, when Venezuela goes up early, then what happens? Canada's got to come out of the shell. They've got to play forward. They've got to try to get it back. They can't hang and play for draws like they did in the group stage. I think they will eventually have to come out of the shell, and when they do, Venezuela will find a couple of more. I'm not overly confident in it, but I might go over the 2.5 in this one. I am most certainly betting Venezuela to win this contest, and you're giving me Venezuela at plus money. Yeah, that's free money, bud. And listen, Uruguay, I give Uruguay a ton of credit. That's a good team. They have obviously forced their way through to get where they need to get through. The Brazilians, on the other hand, like how much confidence was lost by way of that 1-1 draw against that same U.S. team just a handful of days before Copa America. I've been back and forth on this one. I don't know what to make of. I think Uruguay did a fantastic job being high press against the Americans, trying to listen, they knew where the American weakness was, and it was the back line. So they wanted to make sure that the pressure was on that back line the majority of the game. Oh, by the way, they did that without their manager out there on the pitch pulling the strings, right? Like that was just a team intuitively knowing what the right thing to do and not do was. I've gone back and forth on this one. This one feels like I want to lean Uruguay, and you are looking at Uruguay, I think at plus 185. They're actually the dog in this one. I just think they are playing more fluent football right now. But here's what I'm afraid of. And PJ, we always talk on the net about not allowing your emotions to overtake your brain when you're coming up with bets. Am I just doing this because I'm trying to give Uruguay credit for being the team that knocked out the US, right? Like, am I romanticizing Uruguay over a very good Brazilian side because they knocked off the US, and I want to say, oh, we lost, but it was like to a really good team. I'm kind of up in the air on it. This is going to be a hell of a football contest, and it might be a stay away game for me.
It is going to be a really good game. I kind of want to bet Brazil just to qualify and for them to advance at minus 120 because I do think this is going to be a low scoring game. I think it's either 0-0. I think it's going to be 1-1 going into extra time. I think Brazil's been a little underwhelming, and I think people look at Uruguay and they perceive them to be better than they actually are. And look, I won't pretend like I'm an expert on their soccer team. I've only watched a couple matches. I watched their entire match against the U.S. But I'm going to be honest, Rob, didn't really impress me all that much. I know they weren't playing like some of their full guys. They're going with their starters. Like Nunez is a really good player, but Brazil's been underwhelming this tournament. I still think, though, they're good enough to get past Uruguay, and I think you're getting them at a good price as well. So I think the upset is going to be very trendy in this game. I think a lot of people are going to like Uruguay. I'm not one of them. I'll take Brazil to qualify and make it to the next round.